Dear 16-year-old Josiah, well, look at you. Normal folks, you throw them into the sea, they swim back to land, or the nearest boat. Your crazy ass just said, fuck it, I'ma grow some gills and fins. Give me a sec. Looking back at you, at the life you're actually pulling off at 16 years old, I can't help but feel a bit impressed. Although you're doing a lot of shit that I ain't proud of, the way you navigate those extreme waters, the way you adapt so quickly, the way you find creative solutions to the difficulties of your insane life, I still feel more than a little pride about that. You're kind of a badass, kid. Of course, you must also be living some kind of charmed existence, or maybe there really is a God looking out for you, because you get lucky way too often. Most of the shit you do from day to day is foolish, risky, and shouldn't work out well for you. Somehow you keep skating by, but don't get cocky. Hell, you ain't even stabbed yet. And those bullets didn't have to miss. And they ain't the last ones you're gonna feel whizzing past your ear. Pro tip, when that dude you score your 4-way window pane from says let's go to Richmond, just say nah. I think the most amazing thing about the last couple years of your life is that in addition to avoiding serious injury and or arrest, you've managed to maintain an incredible deception, which I'm completely shocked to this day actually worked. It's cute that you kept trying to go to school for a while. Even while you were eating perfectly good Chinese food out of dumpsters and cutting dudes' faces with broken beer bottles in street fights while singing, "It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas," and trying to exploit for some cash those old perverts that sit in their parked cars down by the 5-star looking to get some young boy ass without getting yourself raped in the process, and trying to figure out how to price the X you were slinging to the UNR kids so it'd move super fast but you could also make a little profit out of it. Even while you were dealing with all that, and a million more special challenges besides, you still had this ridiculous idea that you could go to college and get an education somehow. I used to find that tragic, but now it just seems adorable. Now you're at the point where you realize this shit isn't going to happen anymore, and you're about to stop going to school entirely. That'll certainly make the ruse easier, since most of the people you have to fool will be out of your life at that point. I suppose the expected thing for me to say now, as a responsible adult, old guy, is stay in school. But seriously, nah. It's nothing short of miraculous that you've managed to stick around and semi-attend high school for as long as you have without getting caught. But you know that house of cards you're building won't last forever. So you have my blessing. Go ahead and bail out of there. You're learning things no school can teach you anyway. Too bad none of your on-the-job training looks good on a CV. I know the main reason you keep coming back to McQueen High is because of that theater, and it's gonna suck to let it go. It's telling that even as you pull Fs in every other class without worrying too much about it, you always maintain an A in drama. Only class you don't skip half the time, and the only one you don't sleep in. Mrs. Rue. I've given that period of my life a lot of thought, Josiah, and I've got to say, you owe that woman a whole lot more gratitude than you currently show her. She's the only teacher who ever gave a crap about you. The only one who didn't try to rein you in and mash you into the same one-size, one-shape, homogenized box as everyone else. The only one who could actually see how screwed up you were and how much you were hurting, and didn't think she needed to judge you or give you a bunch of shit about who you were. She's amazing, bro. And before you leave that school for good, I want you to take your ass right back into that theater that you love one last time and tell Mrs. Rue how much she's meant to you and offer her a deeply genuine thank you. You probably won't introspect enough right now to understand this, but I'm pretty sure she's the only reason you made it through the extremely precarious stage of life that you're in now. She's your rock, your figure of sanity, the one place where you're really safe. And don't discount the importance of the encouragement she gives you. It's there, in her class, where you first get told that you're really good at something. At least, without some immediate recriminations about how you need to make more of an effort because you're wasting your potential or some shit. Where someone sees a talent in you and then actually makes the serious effort to nurture it and help you become better. Mrs. Rue is the first teacher, the first adult, period, who made you feel, no, not just feel, who made you believe that you could have a real future, that you could do something, be something that was good. Yeah, you owe that woman a heartfelt thanks. Sorry to burst your bubble, kid, but you ain't gonna be an actor. Although in all fairness, you probably deserve an Academy Award for the duplicitous double life you are stunningly performing every single day. That forked tongue grew pretty fast, didn't it, once you really needed it? Honestly, it kind of reflects poorly on all those adults at your school, that they were dense or uncaring enough to not know that one of their students was literally homeless for almost 2 years while attending their school. Of course, you've been exceedingly careful and done whatever it took to maintain the illusion of normalcy. The lengths you've gone to just to always be clean and have clean clothes should be the stuff of legend. If you'll indulge me in a digression, I want to take a few words to enjoy the memory of one of my favorite teen Josiah moments. It was that time when you were in some couple's house, having broken in shortly after watching them leave for work, so you could use their shower and do your laundry. You know, your frequent MO. And the wife came back unexpectedly and caught you coming out of the shower, which normally wouldn't be a problem, because you always had your escape route planned and clear. But this time, she was blocking your way out, and instead of reacting with fear and running away or cowering, she just got angry and started yelling at you. Thinking back on it, I gotta give that woman some props, because she finds a strange man, okay, a boy, but still a big one, in her house. She's alone and unarmed, and instead of getting scared, she proceeds to start giving the intruder a lecture about decency and respect. Oh man, I love that lady. I wish I could remember her name. But then, as she goes to call the police, you're standing there, wrapped in a bath sheet, trying to spin up a good lie in your head, ideas racing, when suddenly you decide to just go for broke and tell her the actual truth. Which leads to an awesome 3-hour conversation, during which time she cooks you a great meal, irons 2 of your shirts, and mends a rip in your jeans. You talk her down from the maybe we should call social services ledge, thank God, and then she offers you money, which, and I'm proud of you for this, you refuse to take, because you already feel guilty enough for breaking into this extremely kind person's home. She extracts a promise from you not to do this anymore, which you make, and subsequently break, of course, but still, you think twice about it from then on. That's one of my favorite memories from those days. Definitely the most positive outcome of an oh shit moment. Not all of the things that happened during those years were dark and horrible. There were plenty of times that were hilarious or heartwarming, like that day. Good stuff. But seriously though, this is going to be a year of big heartbreaks and deep personal disappointment for you, Josiah. So prepare yourself for it. First of all, as I've said, you need to let go of any dreams you might have about college or being an actor or any of that. Okay? It's not happening. Same with writing professionally. Turns out it's not as easy as you imagine when you're 16 and convinced that you're the smartest kid in the world. By the way, you're not. You should really keep writing though, because I remember how damn good you were at it, and I don't know why you stopped. I can't write my way out of a wet paper bag now, so I'd really appreciate it if you'd keep up the writing through the years, so that by the time I'm my age, I'll be a hella good wordsmith. I'd probably still use the word hella though. Alright, I've heaped enough laurels on you, you little punk. For all of that cleverness, you're also a giant fucking moron. You know how everything is super difficult and confusing and chaotic all the time? Well, some of that is due to your environment and circumstances, but a lot of it is because of you. Josiah, the doctors are not lying to you. I know you don't trust adults, especially doctors, and even more especially psychiatrists or therapists or counselors of any kind. And I know how much you hate and instinctively recoil against any adult trying to tell you what you should do, or who you are, or how you feel, or putting any kind of labels on you. I get it. I'm still not the biggest fan of any of that nowadays. But it's time for you to face a hard but absolute fact. You are mentally ill. You have a serious condition called schizoaffective disorder, and your symptoms are extreme, particularly during this period of your life. Josiah, I'm not one of the quacks. I ain't got no reason to lie to you. I'm you, man. Imagine yourself, then add 20 more years of life experience, self-analysis, self-education, and experimentation, all working to figure out who you are and what's wrong with you and how you can best live to deal with it. Okay? So, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm not bullshitting you. You are sick. Stop fighting that idea. You're just prolonging your problems. You're sick, Josiah, and you need help. You really, really do. You think staying awake for 5 days in a row without taking any drugs as you undertake a wildly obsessive quest to stalk some girl you saw in passing in a car because you believe she is a literal angel with an important message for you is normal? You think having a mental breakdown and crawling into a hiding place and staying in there, curled up in the too small space of a cubbyhole in a wall behind a dumpster, biting your lips so hard over and over that your mouth and chin are all bloody, pissing and shitting on yourself and not coming out for 2 days is normal? You think everyone sees invisible angels perched atop the roofs of the casinos? Or is followed and harassed by invisible demons who constantly show up to mock and degrade you? You think everyone is on speaking terms with death, a literal entity, a man in a blinding white suit who offers you advice? Because apparently he doesn't have important things to do, like, I don't know, taking the souls of all the people who are dying or some shit? Josiah, how can you seriously deny that you're experiencing psychosis on a regular basis? You've been hallucinating for years, buddy. Since you were a child, actually. You never knew, and no adult ever took enough of an interest to figure it out. Everyone just chalked it up to you being a weird kid with too active an imagination. Then as you got older, you fully embraced the mythos of Christianity and became convinced that you were some kind of chosen vessel or prophet or something like that. You thought, well, yeah, of course nobody else can see and hear the secret spiritual things I'm perceiving. God only wants to reveal these things to me. I'm called to a special purpose. Sorry, brah, but it's not God. It's a malfunctioning brain, and you're going to have it for the rest of your life. But that's not even the tough pill to swallow. Because honestly, at this point, your faith has kind of fallen into tatters anyway. Pretty hard to hold tight to the whole I am filled with the love of Jesus idea while simultaneously living a lifestyle of frequent violence which you both seek out and enjoy. And selling drugs to the youth group, which you've been made a youth leader of, not cool. So now you're all conflicted and worried about how you might be fucking up your calling or gifts from God and whether or not you're condemning your soul to hell. And since you don't like that idea very much, you're mostly just trying to shove your religious ponderings back down into some crevice in your mind where you can forget about them for a while. But I have good news. You're not going to hell. Bad news, you're already there. So yeah, you'll accept the loss of the angels and demons and the audible voice of God and even our shiny pal, death. Although, as an aside, I've got to say that my memories of him still carry so much weight that I cannot to this day write his name in anything besides all caps. Even though I rationally know he was just a hallucination, I'm still kind of intimidated by him. Interesting. No, the really, really bad part is that some of the normal people that you know and have met through the years are also hallucinations. Yeah. I know how fiercely your mind is working to reject that idea at this point. It's a goddamn awful thing to have to come to terms with, believe me when I tell you that I know that all too well. It actually took me quite a long time to deal with this, and it caused me tons of problems, and that's why I'm hoping I can persuade you to accept the truth and let this go sooner rather than later. You know where this is going. You're already feeling that dread in the pit of your stomach as you anticipate who I'm going to bring up next. The doctor's already tried to tell you, but of course you refuse to believe it. I don't blame you. If I could go back and unhear it and never know and never have it proven, I would. I'd gladly live the lie if I could. I'm just going to say it, Josiah. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Katie. Fuck me. I typed her name and I just had to stop. Had to make her name its own paragraph. Had to pause to let the wave of loss wash over me at the invocation of her name. How does the memory of her still hurt me so much, so many years later? Josiah, she's not real. She was never real. You've been hallucinating her for 10 years. She doesn't exist, Josiah. If this was a face-to-face conversation, I know you'd be fucking me up right now. I doubt I even would have gotten that whole last paragraph out before you'd be on me, furious, smashing my lying fucking mouth into silence. I wouldn't begrudge you. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that time heals all wounds, my friend, because it sure the fuck hasn't healed this one. I've been trying to work through my emotions about this. No, I'm not gonna refer to her in some generic sense. My emotions about Katie for 21 years now. Since I was you. I guess it's not as bad. I no longer think of her and then freak out and go do self-destructive shit. So there's an improvement. But if I let myself think about it for any length of time, it's practically impossible to prevent the tears from flowing. Even now, 21 years gone. So yeah, you've got that to deal with this year. Because everything else wasn't enough drama and heartache, apparently. I need you to try to mentally steel yourself for what's coming. Because I didn't. And it really messed me up. Who am I kidding? You can't prepare yourself for this. They're going to prove it to you, Josiah. Next time you're at West Hills, they're going to prove it. They're going to show you a video of you in the observation room, having a lengthy conversation with thin air. A conversation which you know was with Katie because she was there. She snuck in, which she does all the time. She's super good at that, you know that. You'll sit there and watch that, too shocked to even react. Your mind still trying to deny it, trying to fashion some insane explanation, trying to come up with any rationale that can reject the truth. The truth that there is no Katie. The moment when your heart and will officially break. And you'll just collapse like a rag doll, laying on the floor and starting to bawl, literally bawl like you haven't done since you were a little kid. That moment is the part you remember so vividly from the night before, when Katie curled up against your chest and you put your arms around her, breathed in the smell of her hair, that incredibly comforting scent of cinnamon and cloves that's always identified her since you met her in the woods at 6 years old. And on the screen, you'll see yourself with your arms held up strangely, awkwardly, as though you're pretending to hold something in front of you, but there's nothing there. There's nothing there, Josiah. The image of that video, especially that moment, will be branded into your memory forever, or at least for 21 years. No one will understand. Not even close. How can they? No one's ever known someone like Katie. They've never had a friend like her. I just called to mind the song from Aladdin, and the thought immediately flashed through my mind. I'd much rather have Katie than any genie. She couldn't grant wishes, admittedly. But then, she didn't need to. Because when you were with her, you had no wishes. I can't tell you how many times, even to the present day, that I just get this feeling that she's going to show up somewhere. Sometimes I actually forget. And when I have an interesting experience, I think, for just a brief moment, I can't wait to tell Katie about this. And I actually get all excited for a second, like we used to, at the thought of seeing her again. And then I remember. And there's this part of my mind that still tries to object for a second, tries to say, but wait, maybe she could still be real. She could still show up. And then I have to perform the terrible, unenviable task, again, of forcing that part of me to shut the fuck up. I remind myself of all the pain and bullshit that I put myself through because I refused to give up the idea of my hallucinatory childhood bestie. You don't have to have it so rough, Josiah. Oh, it's gonna hurt like a motherfucker. The good news is you will absolutely never again experience any pain, emotional or physical, that will hurt anywhere near as much as this. That's the good news. The bad news is this is gonna fucking shred you. But as horrible as it is, you need to face this shit, to deal with it, to get and accept help, and to let go of her and move on. I know how ludicrous that sounds. I know. In fact, until you lose her, you're not even aware of how attached to her you are, of how important she is in your life. Christ, people could never, ever understand. She wasn't just a friend or a playmate or a companion. She was part of you. Like half of you. You remember all those hours? Countless hours that you spent talking to her, discussing all the strange and unanswerable questions of life, philosophizing, listening to her give voice to all of her bizarre, almost incomprehensible opinions about the world, and trying to figure out who you were and who you wanted to be and what you believed and what was important to you. All with her help, her guidance. Josiah, I know you've never even realized this up to this point, but dude, she was there with you through the whole process of forming your identity as a person. The process of becoming who you are. And think of how many aspects of your personality, what you believe in, how you talk and act and see other people. Think of how much of that directly came from Katie. She wasn't just your friend, Josiah. She was like your chief architect. Without her, you literally wouldn't be Josiah. You would have become someone totally different. I mean, so different. Because most of the ways in which you're unusual or unconventional or fucking good at all, you got from her. No Katie, and the Josiah who would have resulted wouldn't even be recognizable. And now, at 16, in the midst of all the other chaos and horror, you're gonna have to say goodbye to her. This amazing, magical, wise, crazy, wonderful, beautiful, peculiar, glorious, wild girl who was so much more literally than when anyone else uses this phrase, your other half. I mean, I guess it makes sense why she was always so perfect for you. Your subconscious created her. But over the years, since I came to fully accept that she was really just a hallucination, I've marveled at the fact that our brain could have come up with someone like Katie, because she was so much wiser than I've ever been. How did she know so much and understand so much if we never learned those things? And yet she came out of our brain. Not just out of our brain, but out of our 6-year-old brain. It's a fucking mystery, bro. It blows me away when I think about it. I sure wish I had conscious access to whatever part of my mind invented her. Because that's surely where the genius hides. It's gonna be hard, Josiah. So hard. But you gotta do it. You have to get your illness under control. Do it now while you're still young and have a lot of possibilities before you. Do it now before you let the disease and your own refusal to deal with it carry you up and down a roller coaster of disaster, before you do so much more harm to yourself and others. Because if you don't accept this and actually get the help you need right now, things are only going to get worse, darker, more painful. And you're going to add way too much to that litany of shame. Get on some medication. Actually talk to the doctors or therapists or whoever and tell them the truth. I know you think it's best to lie to them, to hide the craziest bits of your crazy, but they can't help you if you don't tell them the truth. And believe me, you really do need them to help. I think you could let go of Katie easier if you talk about her to someone, a mental health professional of some sort. I can tell you what doesn't work out well: not talking about her. If you spend the next 21 years concealing the most extreme parts of your illness, minimizing any talk of hallucinations or psychotic delusions, and absolutely never, ever telling anyone about Katie, you're just going to continue to hurt yourself and fail to take ownership of your disease. Don't carry that damage in silence for the rest of your life. Even if you've got it buried way down deep in some vault in the core of you, it's still going to influence you. And it'll fuck up all of your relationships and the whole rest of your life. The longer you put off honestly facing and trying to manage your illness, Josiah, the more of your life it's going to ruin. As the guy who's been left with nothing but ashes at the end of a long, twisted ride on the crazy train, I have to implore you to stop. Get help. Don't live the next 7 years of your life at the mercy of schizoaffective disorder. You're going to destroy way too much. And when you look back and realize how many good things you've smashed into flinders, and find that the well of good things has run dry, the weight of the regret you'll have to bear will be crushing. Don't make my mistakes. Get help now. Get yourself under control now. Okay, man, one more thing I'd really like you to reconsider doing. I know how much you love Katie, and how much you need her, and how suddenly impossibly hard life seems without her. I know how, since you didn't just lose a person, they didn't just die or leave your life, but she actually never existed at all. Now you're questioning your entire identity, your entire sense of self, your entire grasp on reality. You have no idea what's true now. You have no idea who you are now. And all of the things you took for granted as being true about life, about people, about yourself, now it's all suspect. And I know how much of your self-esteem completely relied upon Katie and her evaluations of you. You thought you were smart because she said you were smart. You thought you were brave because she said you were brave. You thought you mattered only because she said you mattered. And it's not like she just said all that and then she just left. She never existed. So, actually, no one ever said those things. So now, an enormous chunk of your whole self-image has just collapsed because the Katie that it was built on suddenly poofed out of existence. I know how hard and bewildering and agonizing and frustrating and terrifying and completely unfucking acceptable this all is for you. But please, bro, don't go wreck your car. You want to kill yourself? Cool, I ain't ever gonna judge you for that. I still think about suicide so much, I could have written 10 books about it if someone could just transcribe my mind. But don't fail, man. And especially don't pick a way to do it that destroys the one thing you own. You don't just obliterate your car, buddy. You live in that car. So you crash your house. Don't crash your house? How stupid is that? You have easy access to guns if you want them. Shoot yourself for fuck's sake. Oh wait, I know you're all scared of shooting yourself since that guy that you met in the mental hospital who had shot himself in the head and it didn't kill him, and now he's all fucked up and brain damaged and drooly, and he had this huge crazy looking scar on his misshapen head. Yeah, that freaked you the fuck out. Thinking about him still gives me the chills. Dude was like a zombie and shit. So maybe avoid the guns, actually. Jump off something then. Or man up and cut your wrists. I'm sure you know at least 2 people who could get a hold of some Nembutal for you. Although, I don't think you knew about Nembutal back then. Whatever, I don't care. Just don't decide to total your car/house in a poorly conceived suicide attempt. Especially if you're not then going to have the decency to fucking die. Seriously, it becomes a major inconvenience. So don't do it. Please. Okay, to recap. You got your work cut out for you, young jester. Drop out of school. It's just a liability and a discovery risk at this point, and you can't afford that. Give up your career dreams for good. They're a distraction, and you need to focus on staying alive and fighting your illness. Face the shitty fact that you're mad as a fucking hatter, and that a lot of the coolest people and other beings that you know never existed. Face the even more unspeakably awful fact that the absolute best friend you'll ever possibly have in your life, the one who was nearly always your only friend, the one who has always been your sole light in a life of so much darkness, also never existed. Accept the health of the mental health quacks. The help of the mental health quacks. Trust them. Open up to them and tell the truth so you can start overcoming your disease. Take the damn meds. Go tell Mrs. Rue how totally awesome she is, and she even exists. When the idea of going to San Francisco comes up, definitely do it. When the idea of going to Richmond comes up, definitely don't. Try not to totally lose it and do even more insane things than usual whenever you think about Katie. And finally, Next time you're hurtling toward an immovable object at 70 miles an hour, miss.